Hi, and welcome to another episode of United for a Healthy Stoughton. Today, we are going to be learning about the Rti Empowerment Center, and I'm so excited to have two guests with me today. Royale, I'm going to get this wrong. Royale
You got this.
Elrodin,
Yes,
right?
yes,
All right.
yes, yes,
I even
yes.
practiced it. And Stephanie St. Louis. So Royale is the founder of the Rti Empowerment Center, and Stephanie is the associate director. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. I know that so the Empowerment Center has been open for almost a year.
Yes, it'll be a year on the 15th of September.
Excellent, right in the center of Stoughton, and so we thought, what a great opportunity for us to talk a little bit about what you guys have been doing over there, what you've been up to, how the center came to be. And because my guess is people are driving by and maybe don't know what sorts of exciting things are happening in there.
Yes.
So let's talk about sort of the story of how the Rti Empowerment Center came to be. I know, Royale, this is tied into your own story a little bit.
Yes.
So why don't you take it away?
So where do I start? So, life for me as I knew it was over. I was facing 15 years for trafficking cocaine.
How long ago was this? Let's give people a
This
context.
is 2008.
Okay.
2008. In 2008, I was facing 15 years for trafficking cocaine,
Wow.
possession of a firearm, and being a habitual traffic offender. Or after previously beating a firearms charge and out on $30,000 bail. And I said to myself, boy, had I messed up. I said, Roy, let me see you get out of this one. Because, up until that moment, I believed in taking shortcuts. That's what made sense to me. That's what I grew up around. The honest people from my neighborhood, they didn't seem to get any type of respect. And the not so honest people from my neighborhood seemed to be getting all the respect, and they seemed successful. And I lived in a one-bedroom apartment with my mother, who struggled at 2 jobs to pay the bills, and then I always wanted to help her escape and help us escape poverty.
Yep.
And I chose that route because that's what I saw around me. The drug dealers and the gangsters in my neighborhood. They would send me to the corner store, let me keep the change. They'd let me roll the dice for them, let me keep the change. They have me pick out crack vials from behind the bushes, let me keep the change. They used to hide Ziplocs of cocaine inside my boxing gloves and let me keep the change. So I grew up wanting to be just like them. I mean, growing up, I excelled in boxing. I was great at art, track and field. But whenever I was met with a challenge in those activities, I quit. And there was no one around to hold me accountable. And, so I grew up wanting to be like that, and then I became that. And, along that journey, I did it for a long time. And, I really thought that was my life purpose until the time when I was facing the 15 years. And I realized that I was more valuable on this earth than sitting inside a prison. And, I didn't want to continue to hurt my mom that way. I was hurting her from first grade up until the age of 26. And I went to trial, and I was able to beat the trafficking charge, the trafficking of cocaine, to be specific, charge at trial, but I was convicted of a lesser included, which was possession with intent to distribute. Ended up doing about 4 years in prison. And in prison, that's when the revolution started. And I say revolution means to change or die. So I had to let go of my old self to recreate my true self, who I truly was. And when we connected with my true self, I fell in love with that person. And that was the first revolution. And then from that, I was reading a book by the name of Success Principles. And the author is Jack Canfield, who's also the author for Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that book, he gave you examples and worksheets on how to identify your life purpose. And what was coming up for me was that I was great at inspiring people, motivating people, and the transformation of individuals. And I believe that if I was able to transform myself, I could also help transform other people, or I could help the youth avoid the pitfalls I wasn't able to avoid. And that's how the name of the Rti Empowerment Center came along, which is, RTI stands for Revolution to Inspire. The first revolution was on myself,
Yep.
and I made it my mission to help inspire, motivate, and transform the youth, especially the youth who come from broken homes,
Yep.
and help them avoid the pitfalls I wasn't able to avoid. And before I was released from prison, I created a first day out list, first month out list, first year, first 3 years, first 5 years. And one of the goals I had was to open up a community center.
Great.
The first thing I started off with was, speaking at schools, colleges, for different organizations such as YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs across the East Coast. And then from that, I said to myself, I wanted to continue doing workshops. But in the beginning, I had like hardships getting into schools because of my CORI. So I said I needed a place where I could do my own workshop. And I started off with renting a suite on 247 Washington Street, Alberts Plaza. And there I used to run my own workshops. And then by the grace of God, that place was 1,000 square feet. And then as time went by, I was able to find a 6,000 square foot place. And I went back into my checklist, my goals list, which was opening up a community center. And that's how it came about.
Excellent. So
long story short.
Yeah, no, I love the story. I think this is it's a really important story, and it sort of ties the center to sort of the values that you hold and that you want to bring forward and to be able to share with our young people. And I know you've been doing a lot of public speaking in Stoughton too, with groups as well.
Yes.
And creating some opportunities for kids to both get to hear your story and to learn about the center. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so definitely first, right, I'll say, gotta let Stephanie speak too.
Yeah,
so,
I was gonna say, and then we'll make sure we let Stephanie speak, yes.
But so first of all, the mission of the Rti Empowerment Center is to bridge the gap in communities through arts, youth empowerment, and community development.
Okay.
And some of the programs we've been able to start is one is called Let's Build, which is a group therapy for the teens, whereas they come together and share their experiences, share their concerns, and that being an outlet for them to express how they feel. And then we have a licensed clinician on site to be able to tackle whatever they're struggling with.
Okay.
That's called Let's Build, and that's every last Wednesday of the month.
Great.
The next one is on the 26th. And then we have Let's Vibe.
Okay.
And that's a youth open mic, poetry, spoken word open mic, where they get to come perform, use it as an outlet to express themselves. Whether it's through poetry, whether it's through singing, whether it's through public speaking, whatever they choose to express, they can do in that day.
Great.
And that's every second Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
The next one is actually this coming Wednesday, the 12th.
Okay, all right, so we're in the month of June in case,
month of
depending
June,
on when this show airs, so
Yes.
I imagine in July there will be one.
Every second
Wednesday
of every month.
Great.
And then I'm also gonna do a public speaking, teen public speaking workshop.
Great.
Which is starting on, I believe, July 17th.
Okay, terrific.
Yes, and it's talking about, it's called Speaking with Purpose.
Okay.
How to communicate to your audience. I'm also a Toastmaster at a Tri-County Talkers in Easton. I put the plug there.
Yep, great.
Right, and it's about helping the individual speak effectively. And that's the 3 programs we have currently.
Yep.
On top of other programs we're going to bring there, which is like an IT program, youth boot camp programs, chess club programs, so a lot of different things. We have a art gallery inside there. Actually, last month we partnered up with an artist called Jamal Eversley, and he brought his bold and beautiful teen art exhibit to the community center. And we had Stoughton High School and Canton High School teens present their art pieces inside of there. It was about 40 students.
Oh wow, awesome. Awesome. Do we have pictures of that? I'm wondering.
Yes, I believe we do. Have pictures in there somewhere.
Okay, all right. So there might be a picture of that if we find it. No, okay, maybe not in that set of photos that we sent. So Stephanie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as associate director? Sort of when you came on board with the Rti Empowerment Center and why it's important to you.
Okay. Well, I met Royale through social media. He started off as a poet, and through his quotes, connected to him as a mentor. And to this day, he's still one of my mentors. And we just built this relationship where we understand the youth. We both have that drive to help. And I again, started as a volunteer, and then I was just always there at the center throughout the summer. We, built the bathroom together, painting, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And my role just became bigger as I continued. I'm currently in school now for forensic psychology to get my master's.
Wow.
And I really want to assess the youth and see where their minds are. And I'm big on the mind and see how they move and why they react the way they do. And from there, through my assessment, I can sit down with Royal and say, this is the areas that we need to focus on. This is the areas where we might need a little extra help. And from there, we have outside resources to help us in that department. So, I'm very excited. I love helping youth. I love helping people in general. That's been my passion. And I'm realizing that that's my gift, is listening and giving advice and seeing these young individuals succeed in whatever they want to be. So that's part of the mission, is helping these youth become their best selves.
Right.
And I'm thrilled. We've had a couple of kids come by, and I'm excited, and it's getting bigger, and I can't wait to, just reach out the whole Massachusetts and make it global.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. So what kinds of things are you guys, so you talked a little about some of the programs that you have going on in the space currently. And it sounds like you're drawing young people from not just Stoughton, but some other communities as well.
Yeah. So, so the real goal, the vision is to be able to bring other people, especially teens, from different communities into one space.
Yep.
Share resources and take them back to their community. Because a lot of the times, most teens don't leave their town, city until they're of age to work.
Right.
So it's like, to me, it's like being in a box. So for me growing up, I never left my neighborhood until I was older.
Right.
So, which means I wasn't able to expand my imagination. It was limited.
Right.
But when you're able to go somewhere else and see how other people do things and learn from other people, get inspired by other people, you grow.
Right.
You grow. So, the goal is to be able to have different teams from different communities in one building. Share your resources, take it back to your community, share resources, create new ideas, bring it here, and build as a collective. Because community to me is not just in your zip code.
Right. Right.
Right. Community, if we believe in the same things, if we're fighting for the same things, if we're against the same things, then we are part of the same community.
Right. And I think you're right. I think that's so important for young people. I think that that sort of idea that, especially if they're younger and they don't have transportation, that they're confined to whatever's going on in their environment, which might be great and might be not so great.
Yes.
And then the sort of other world of whatever's happening on social media, which also can be great and can be negative, right? And not so great, depending on what you seek out. And so this opportunity for them to kind of cross-fertilize across communities in your space around things that they love is like really exciting.
It's like a safe haven.
Right.
So I'll give you a real story.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the other day there were about 6 teens passing by the community center. And I've worked with them at Stoughton High School, through Stoughton Youth Commission. I've worked with them at the library.
Yep.
And they were passing by. So every time they pass by, they all stop and they say hello.
Yep.
But this time they were passing by with two other teens, male teens.
Yep.
So I engaged them in conversation. Hey, how you doing? How's school? How you doing in school?
Yep.
And one of them said, oh, I don't go to school. He was 15. He said, I don't really go to school.
Huh.
I said, so what are you doing? He said, I usually stay home and watch TV. I was like, so what are you priming yourself up? Because the way you're operating is like you're gonna prime yourself up to be a bum. I attacked it from that angle, and I told them to bring him back to the community center the following Monday, and they did.
Yeah.
And through that, they now became teen ambassadors for the community center.
Yep.
And they've been coming back every day since.
Oh wow. Yep.
So it's like we're grassroots. So we actually go out and engage them in the community, and they pass in front of the community center every day. Most teens pass by in front of the community center.
Well, I think because where you're located, it's very close for students to be able to walk from the high school or from the middle school, and so that makes it accessible for students as well, which is exciting. And I think to know that there's a space that's safe for them in the center of town, and there isn't necessarily a lot of other places where kids could just drop in and be safe and hang out and be creative, and those spaces in town are kind of few and far between. So to be able to have options. So we have this beautiful library, we have the Y, but we have your space now, right?
So collectively, we work together.
Right.
You know, we share resources amongst each other. We send kids here, we send kids over there. Whatever I can't do, I send them to you. Whatever you can't do, you send them to me. And it's like, you know, work together.
Right.
There's a saying that goes, united we bargain, divided we beg. You know, we're all about the same, we're all a part of the same community.
Right.
And we come collectively to make things work out.
Yep. So it's funny, so as you're saying that, I've been thinking about some other meetings that I've been preparing for, and one of the things that I'm thinking a lot about is how do we collectively work to build sort of the healthiest environment, and some of the language that the Centers for Disease Control use, and some of these bigger organizations that work with young people talk about safe, stable, and nurturing, and so how important it is. And so, you know, I'm thinking about your story, and then now the opportunities that we can create and that your center can create and some of these other places in our community create for our young people to experience something that's safe, stable, and nurturing. Because sometimes home isn't safe, stable, and nurturing, but as a community, we can create and offer those kinds of opportunities for our kids collectively, and build their resilience so that they have some opportunities in the future that might not have been there, right? When you think about whatever the boxes that they start out in, you know, not everybody is afforded the same opportunities initially. So I think, you know, when we think about Stoughton as a safe, stable, nurturing place and the kinds of things that we can create, I love knowing that, you know, that we have this empowerment center in our community, that we're lucky enough to have that.
You know what I love about Stoughton, right? I love the people in Stoughton. I love the culture in Stoughton. It's very diverse.
Yep.
And I love the fact that if we really look at it, Stoughton is in the middle of every other town in the city of Brockton.
Right.
We're right in the middle.
Yep. We do touch a lot of communities. You know, we
So
have
like the hub.
Randolph, Brockton, Avon, Easton,
Sharon,
Canton. That's right. Yep.
So we're like right in the middle. So it's like, I believe in bringing people together, because when you bring people together, like even in business, when you work with other people, that's how your business is able to grow. When you keep it small and limited in the box, you can't grow.
Right.
You have to step outside the box to see what's going on in order to expand that size of the box.
So that's actually a really good segue. Let's talk about like what your vision is for other kinds of exciting things you want to do in that space, either in the next year or you know, as the space grows and more young people get involved. What kinds of things are you hoping to do?
So we're looking to do a teen podcast.
Okay.
Teen podcast. And actually, we just finished building a section in the building where we're able to have podcasting. So
neat.
Podcasting is a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
And we want to give the teens tools and the access to use the podcast station, to have their own show, have their own things going on. That's one of the things we have going on.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have we want to bring theater into the space. We have a stage ready for that type of activity. We have an art gallery.
Yep.
We want to give, you know, and not just the teens, the community as a whole.
Yep.
We have places that can provide co-working spaces for meetings, for someone who just needs some hour or two to work for them with themselves.
Yep.
We have like an area in the front where, you know, you can have like, you know, different groups, like a meeting space.
Yep.
So, you know, the goal is to provide the teens with whatever they feel they are missing.
Okay.
You know, so we actually allow them to come in there. We say, hey, what do you feel you would need to have in here that would keep you wanting to come back and keep you progressing? And whatever they say, we'll create it.
Do it,
Yeah. Awesome. What else, Stephanie, do you want to add to that or jump in? I know you think a lot about like what kids need and
it was just to add on to what Royale said about, we asked the kids exactly, you know, what do you think the RTI should do for you guys? What do you want to see from us? And just the same group of kids, the ambassadors mentioned, hey, what about a movie night?
Yep.
So it's like the littlest things that you never think of matter the most to them. So we try to fulfill that as best as we can. So we're planning in the process of having a movie night at the end of the month, and they're the ones running it and you know, bringing in the kids. So it's really whatever the youth want, we try to do it the best that we can to fulfill their needs.
Yeah. It sounds like too, a lot of times teenagers are just, they're looking for a place to be with each other,
Yeah, a
right?
place to be.
Just to connect. And
Yeah, there's a saying that goes, the devil finds work for idle hands. So if they're not doing much, or if they're just walking around, they're gonna get into mischief.
Right, right.
So it's great that there's a library, there's a community center at the center of town, and there's also another community center on what is it, Harrison Boulevard?
Are you thinking, you're talking about
The
the
Y,
Y?
yes.
Yeah, so that's Central Street, yeah.
Central Street.
Yep.
I keep saying
Yep.
Harrison Boulevard.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So there's
Yeah.
this, and then there's the youth commission
The Youth Commission is over on Rockland
on
Street.
Rockland Street.
Yep,
So there's like,
that's right.
there's these hubs
Yep,
around. So there's always going to be somewhere for them to go. If they're not at the library, they're at the Stoughton Youth Commission. If they're
Right.
not there, they're at the Rti Empowerment Center. If they're not there, they're at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And if we work together collectively, there's always something for them. So
Right.
it becomes balanced.
right. Well, and because different things, sort of appeal to different kids at
Yeah.
different times, right? And so, like I think sometimes it's easy to create things for our athletes, for example, because people
Yeah.
think about them a lot, but we forget about the kids who are really interested in art, technology,
Exactly.
theater, and sort of have all these, kids have all sorts of interesting, creative
Yeah.
outlets that they
Yeah.
might need that maybe isn't being met in some other place. So I love that you guys are sort of open to, whatever would the students sort of bring to you and say, this is something I would love to do. Like let's find a way to do that.
Yeah,
right?
because
Yeah.
you can say, well, I think the teens need this. We can think all we want.
Right.
But when it's really coming from them, it's golden.
Yep.
Because they really know what they
Yep.
what they need. Well, we may know what they need and how to produce it, but they're the ones that's coming from them.
Right, right. So what do you think has been one of your greatest successes so far? Like, so to this point with the programs or just something that you think about in the center when you think about like, this has been a great success? And you might each have a different answer to that, and that's cool.
For me, it's weird, right? For me, it wouldn't even be the programs. For me, see, we're about to be a year in
Yep.
September. For me, it actually happened last week. 6 teens, they just walked in and they just sat on the bench.
Yep.
And they sat, we're looking at each other like, hey, they just sat there.
Yeah.
And we started to engage them in conversation. They engaged back, and we said, would you guys like some pizza?
Yep.
They were like, yes.
Of course.
And we had some board games. And we gave them the board games. They ran towards the board games. And they just were focused on that. And they stayed even until it was time for us to close. They were still there.
Yeah.
To me, that's success.
Yep.
Being able to provide a place for those teens, because if we weren't there, where would they have gone?
What would they be doing?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they mentioned that, and I hope we come together. I'm going to say this on purpose. I hope
Yeah.
we come together and create a better park, a park space.
Yep.
Because when I asked them, do you go to, what's over there at the park? They was like, there's nothing much. And that's where they hang out.
Yeah.
So there's nothing much at the park.
Huh.
Then what?
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to hear what it is that they're looking for at the park, I
Yeah.
guess, right? Because
Yeah.
as adults, we think about what those spaces are, and I think when we think about playgrounds, we think about younger children, and then we do have some beautiful open spaces in Stoughton, but it would be interesting to hear from teenagers
Yeah,
about
to see what we could-
what are they looking for in that outdoor
That
space.
Outdoor space.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Stephanie, what about for you? What would be like a success point that you think about, or a story that illustrates that for you?
The same story Royale just mentioned, but I see success when I see the youth come in and it hits them. Like they
Yeah.
have that, they're inspired and empowered to do more. For example, like during the Let's Vibe,
Yep.
the open mic, at first everybody's shy to get on stage, but once one goes up, they're like, okay, well, my friend did it, let me do it. Or a complete stranger did it, so let me do it. And then they feel empowered because we embrace them. It's a non-bias, no judgment. Whatever you want to do, you express yourself how you want to express yourself.
Yep.
And they always leave happy and excited, like, okay, I was able to go and face my fear. I was able to go to express a story that I wanted to share for so long but wasn't able to do so.
Yep.
So it's just seeing the light in their eyes has always been a success to me. And whether it's they just pop in, just talk one-on-one, or it's a group of them, they always leave inspired and empowered, which is what I want every individual to leave the center happy, inspired, empowered,
motivated,
and
driven,
just
yes.
motivated, and just it's a community, like you said.
Yeah.
So they're able to go home and say, listen, I was at the Rti Empowerment Center. I met Royale. I met Stephanie. I met some of the kids there. And listen, come with me next week or come with me next month. So it's just the excitement in their eyes. So I would say every time I see a kid that leaves excited is a success to me.
Awesome. Excellent. So I know we're starting to run out of time, so I want to make sure people know how to find you guys and if they're like fired up and excited by the things that we talked about. So let's make sure, where can people physically find your space? Like, can you sort of describe where in Stoughton it is?
Okay, so you can find us, we're right in Stoughton Center, right next to Murphy's Oil,
Yep.
which is right next to the Army-Navy store.
Okay.
The Army-Navy store has been there for over 30 years.
Yep.
So it's the Army-Navy store, Murphy's Oil, then there's us, and
Yep.
it's a Japanese restaurant, I believe, named Kyoto's. But
Yep.
the name recently changed.
Take one, I believe it
Take
is.
one, but we're right there. You can't miss us.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sign is
And it's in the
there.
old, it used to be a
Old
pharmacy
pharmacy. It's in the
building, so
old
people,
pharmacy building.
people might
Yes.
remember that space as well. Great.
Yes, you can also go to
Oh, there's a picture. Oh.
Yeah. You
There
can
was a
al-
picture. Yep.
You can also go to rtiec.org.
Okay.
rtiec.org. The address is 769 Washington Street,
Yep.
Stoughton, Mass. Obviously, 02072.
And we have your phone number up there if people want to reach out by phone or email. So we have all that info.
Yeah, the rtiec@gmail.com.
Excellent.
If you want to really, really know what's going on, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram, RTIEC. Facebook, RTI Empowerment Center.
Okay.
You can also follow me,
Yep.
Royal Elradin, RoyalElradin, and that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So thank you guys. I want to say thank you so much. That time went by really fast.
Yes.
For coming to be with me today here on the show.
off
And
air.
it was a great discussion, and I'm excited for thinking about other ways we can collaborate in the future. So
Yes.
thanks so
Thank you.
much
No,
for being
thank you.
here.
We've collaborated already.
Yeah.
I really liked going into the school.
Yeah.
I think it was a real good one because those same teens, we're still working with them.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the community.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.